Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Edna White, your host of Keeping It Real on Purpose. And I am so glad to have a special guest on our author insight for he's the author of Why is Sam So Sad, which I think is a great topic for this time of year for all of us, but especially if you know that I love children. And you guys know that. So I want to introduce none other than Dan Granger. He has coped with seasonal affective disorder every winter since he was a child growing up in Wisconsin. I think that's a challenging area, don't you think, guys? As a former teacher of 15 years and a certified reading specialist, he combines his professional experiences and his personal background to deliver an informative and inspiring children's book. Why is Sam So Sad? Seasonal affective disorder and depression for child's perspective. And I think I like this from a child's perspective. We often look over children, but welcome to the show, Dan.
Thank you so much for having me. This is a pleasure.
Yes, I'm so excited when I received your the information about you. I was like, oh, we got to have this on because I have grandchildren that are affected by this kind of
Yeah.
this kind of change. And
hmm
I often think about children. I'm a childhood sexual abuse survivor, so I often think about children all the time. Worrying about what they experience and are we talking about it. And you're the perfect person today to just like talk about this subject. So tell us a little bit about who you are, more than I told them already, but more, just a little bit more.
Sure. First off, I'm sorry to hear that. Congratulations for being a success story
Thank
and being
you.
somebody that people can look up to, and that you've gone this far. You're the second
Thank you.
person I've actually been interviewed with that was an interviewer that had gone through that. So it's really incredible what you did. So congratulations. Yeah,
Thank you.
I live in Wisconsin.
Okay.
Wisconsin is one of those places where we have our own sayings like, if you don't like the weather,
Yeah.
too bad, it'll change. If you do like the weather, it'll change.
Yeah.
And
One of
then
those things. Yeah.
what's the other one? We have three kinds of seasons: winter,
Hmm.
summer, and construction. So yeah,
Yeah.
in the Midwest, it gets really cold and it gets really
Yes.
dark.
Hmm.
And during that time, I get depressed and my negative thoughts take over
Right.
and I become a hermit. Uh,
Right.
and so I wrote a book about it because this happened during COVID. Um, and I was in a really dark place, but I'm sure we'll get into that.
Right. We often don't relate those things to seasons. We don't. And I know when I moved to China, I was like, I slept 24 hours when I got there, and the day had started over because whenever you leave from one area, when you get to China, it's a day before. So it threw me off. So I could just imagine, like in an area where it's dark, dark most of the time. Share with us, your experience of how it, when you felt it, how it felt transitioning into this.
So I've been asked that a couple of times, and the way I describe it is, for me as a
Mhm.
child during
Right.
Christmas, I hated Christmas. I
Wow.
still kind of do, because during
Gotcha.
that time I don't have any. When you have school, you have something to keep you busy. You have something
Right.
to keep your mind off.
Right.
And then during the vacation time, I just kind of moped around, and I wasn't. And I even said that in the book, like I was a mopey Marvin,
Right.
and uh, and I wasn't really very happy because all
Right.
these negative thoughts are keeping me busy. And the negative thoughts are the worst right before you're about to go to sleep, because that's you don't have anything to keep you busy. So
Right.
the best thing for children like this is to keep them busy.
Right.
As far as what you were talking about with, well, I will get into light therapy,
Oh.
but there is something called light therapy, which you can work with seasonal affective disorder,
Oh.
but it also can help with jet lag. So you could have looked at light and been ready to go when you got to China.
Wow. I did not know that.
I've
That's
done a
very
lot of
informative.
research
That's
from
good.
all these interviews. Like every time
Mhm.
I have an interview, it's like, oh, tell them this. I'm like, okay, got to do research for that too. So yeah, I'm kind of a wealth of knowledge kind of now. But
Okay.
okay, go ahead. Yeah, so the way I kind of describe it as far as like a kid in the kid's version
Mm-hmm.
is kind of like putting on a weighted backpack that's just with stones kind of leaned down, kind of the same kind of thing for when you're depressed. And then when I'm not during the colds, the dark seasons,
Right.
then, I'm happy and go lucky. So this
Right.
is Sam, and Sam is happy most of the time.
Yeah.
However, during the winter time when it's dark, he doesn't feel very happy. And I also
Mm-hmm.
want to show you this, my shirt. This is why Sam's so sad. Can you see that? There we go. But since I'm doing the interview, I'd rather be happy.
Wow. Awesome. Awesome.
Thank you.
I love Sam. I do love Sam. I'm telling you, I love him. Because now I see you look like him.
Sam is me and I am Sam. Everything that
Yes,
happened in
yes,
that book, everything that
yes.
happened in that book is me.
Yeah,
I've gone
okay.
through everything. However,
Okay.
there's been lots of information that's new information since that
Okay.
book, and I'm revamping the book as we speak.
Awesome. So there will be a new unabridged version.
The new version is going to have two things that need to be updated, and it
Okay.
also is going to have the guru of seasonal affective disorders
Wow.
endorsement.
Awesome. Awesome. So tell me, how can parents see this? What things could you tell parents to do to kind of like see this coming?
Um, let me think for a sec. So, as far as seasonal affective disorder, what it is like I said, it's being depressed during when the days get longer
Right.
and the nights get long in the dark
Right.
and it gets darker.
Right.
So what parents need to do is just be aware of their children and see if they're acting if they acting the way they normally would,
Okay.
um, or are they pushing people away? Because
Right.
in the book we talk about that Sam pushes people away
Right. Right.
because
I
during
saw
that
that.
time he doesn't want to, or children at the time don't really want to be around people. I know
Right.
myself personally, I didn't want to be around people because I didn't want to be happy, and the other thing is I didn't want to bring them down by me being not happy, so
Right.
I pushed people away.
Right.
um, and that happens more often with like the teenagers. The people that get the children that get sad the most are teenagers, and more importantly girls. It's like 3 times more versus boys.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Because girls mature quicker than boys, and
Right.
so they end up getting it kind of faster. Some of the things that happen is the way I like to describe it, and kind of the way that the guru, what's his name, Norman E. Rosenthal, who in 1985 coined the
Hmm.
term seasonal affective disorder,
Right.
and that was in the National Health Institute in Massachusetts, whatever is NIM, and
Okay.
that's like, oh, I don't know what happened there. Um, so, anyways, yeah. So, what the way I would describe a child going through seasonal affective disorder,
Okay.
or just being sad, is like hibernating.
Mm.
What would a bear do? A bear would sleep in. A bear would be away from people. A bear would overeat and just not be part of everybody, you
Okay.
know.
You
And
would
so
you'd
that's
have to
kind of,
notice that. You'd have to really
yeah.
be keen to that. So that's not a teenager thing,
That's the
like
thing.
kind of hibernating, being away from people. Is that a teenage thing? Or
It's
what I'm saying? You know how we relate that to being a teenager? I don't want to be with anybody. Is that no? Is that a thing?
Well, it's even more than just like necessarily you don't want to be with people. You
Okay.
stop going to social events, you stop going
Right.
to
Okay.
parties, you stop being around your family, you try to,
Right.
just
Okay.
be away from
Right.
everybody.
Right.
Now, there are two kinds of sad, which
Okay.
there's the winter sad that's the more effective, and that's, or not more effective, that's, what is it, 5% of the population has seasonal affective disorder, the winter sad,
Okay.
and 3% of the population no, yeah, like 10%. I can't remember right now. But they have Somerset, and
Okay.
Somerset is, instead of being depressed, it's
Hmm.
anxiety, and instead of oversleeping, it's lack of sleep, so insomnia.
Wow.
So yeah,
We have to pay attention, huh? That's really important. Whew.
but it's not nearly as common as the winter one.
Yeah.
And as far as what can you do about seasonal affective disorder, the winter one is there's something called light therapy, and that's actually what Normandy Rosenthal based upon. He talked about light therapy, and
Okay.
what you do is you have certain kinds of lights
Okay.
that their max is, what is it, 1,000 lux, and that's kind of like, it's kind of like the dawn of, if you look at the sky, like the dawn, like it's enough
Yeah.
natural light that gets in your eyes.
Right.
When I wrote the book initially, I thought that it was supposed to be that that the light contacts the body and then there's created vitamin D. My mom
Mhm.
always said, go outside, get some vitamin
Yeah.
D. So as far as I knew, okay, I go
Yeah.
outside, I get some vitamin
Yeah.
D. According to this, actually, what it is not necessarily the vitamin D that the seasonal affective disorder
Okay.
people are missing out on. They're
Okay.
missing out on, it's called, basically resetting your biological clock. It's called the circadian rhythms, and
Yes,
that's
I've heard
something
of
I
that.
need
Yes.
to change to my book.
Hmm.
So this light looking in your eyes resets your biological clock. So
Okay.
what your body is kind of used to during the summer, your leggings still thinking is, okay, it's summer, 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 summer.
Right.
And the average person who doesn't have seasonal affective disorder switched over already.
Hmm.
So there are no problems there. They're like, okay, well, it's colder, it's winter, it's darker, no big deal. And to the person dealing with seasonal affective disorder,
Okay.
they're thinking, okay, it still should be bright, should be bright. Why is it not bright? This isn't good. Why is it not bright?
Hmm.
And so there is light therapy, and you have, like I said, this 1,000 lux that you're supposed to, and put it next to you or whatever, as long as it gets in your eyes.
Right.
And it's not even like shiny or anything. It just, you can sit by it. You can do, there's numerous kinds of light boxes out there. Actually, it's called
Okay.
bright light therapy that
Hmm.
Norman Rosenthal talked about.
Okay.
And so with that bright light therapy, it does reset your clock. It does make you happier.
Hmm.
Um, and in the book, I talked about, because I didn't know at the time until I talked with Norman E. Rosenthal,
Right.
and in the book, I talk about something called St. John's wort, because when I was growing up,
Oh yeah,
my
yeah. I
mom
know
used to
about
give
that.
me
Yeah,
this thing.
yeah.
Yeah, she used to give me St. John's wort, which boosts your happy feeling, and that's
Wow.
actually what it says on the bottom. And
Right.
so I'm like, okay, yeah, go for it. And Norman Rosenthal said, please don't tell that to children. I'm like, what do you mean?
Wow.
There was a study done where I guess even like their eyes were hurting or something was going on, but they had to cut the study completely.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I'm gonna tell you that my grandson heard the same thing about John Sword. He's 16.
Okay.
And I noticed from him, his eyes are red. And I said, I don't think you should be taking that anymore. And he says, why? And he said, I do feel weird. My eyes feel weird. And I said, don't take that anymore. And so he stopped and he felt better. He's like, it was that because he was actually it was bothering his eyes, but yet he was feeling worse. He was feeling like almost depressed, like he didn't want to do anything. And I was like, it was
Wow.
supposed to do the opposite effect,
True.
but it was doing backwards for him.
Right.
And kids, they try to get things to supplement. He's a supplementer. He likes to feel good. He likes to, all of that stuff. And I was like, I don't think you should be taking it. As soon as I said that, he's like, okay. And he stopped taking it and he felt better. But I noticed with him, sometimes he's going through that and, the ups and the downs, but mostly, as you're saying, when the seasons change, I see
Right.
that with him. Yeah.
Right. So basically, for me, I just prepare for it. I know it's coming. I get out my lights. And there's also cognitive behavioral therapy, which is another benefit to, or
Right.
another that they talk about, kind of preparing yourself. Like, okay, it's going to be this,
Right.
and
Right.
in your mind, you prepare yourself. And
Right.
it's kind of like the same thing with like being afraid of spiders. So little by
Mm-hmm.
little, you
And
kind
you're
of increase
preparing
that.
yourself. Right.
You kind of increase that the stimulus that you don't want,
Right.
and then you kind of go through that within the conversation or in the
Right.
therapy
Right.
stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. Yeah. I've heard of that. Yeah. That's good information. Where would you obtain these lights that you're talking about?
actually, I got mine on Amazon, and
Okay.
yeah, I read the book
Mhm.
after Norman Rosenthal, and it's called Defeating Sad,
What is
and
it called?
he Defeating Sad.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Normally, wait, there you go.
Oh, okay. Defeating said. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right.
Although, let's plug my book. Don't forget about my book. Right there,
I
there we
won't
go.
forget about it. Here it is, right here. It's right here.
All right,
Right
all right, all
here.
right. Yeah. So, as far as that's concerned, with him, I wrote to him. I was watching some YouTube, and he said, "Yeah, without you people, I wouldn't be here, and I'm so thankful for your stories." I'm like, "You're thankful for my stories, huh?" All right.
Wow, that's
So I typed him up. I'm
excellent.
like, "Hey, I have this. I wrote a book. Would you be willing to
Hmm.
look at it?" And he's like, "Well, not at this point, but if you want to change it, yes." And so I'm like, "Yeah, I'll change it." And he said, and he gave me an endorsement, and I'm like
That's
thrilled.
awesome.
This is somebody I knew his name when
Hmm.
because of this. This has been a part of my life, and that was in '85 that he coined the term of seasonal affective disorder, and then he's made like 14 books, and this is his 14th book. One of them did actually talk about the first book. One of the
Right.
books talked about St. John's Wort and the benefits of that to
Right.
SAD.
Right.
So things have evolved, and he learns more and more, and studies have shown more and more. And so, but yeah, the biggest things that he said is that cognitive behavioral therapy and light therapy, and then you can do like light therapy while you're doing other stuff, like depending on what
Gotcha.
kind of light you have. Like the one that I have is about the size of an iPad. It's not very big, and I just
Okay.
let it right. I have it right on my desk when I'm working, and he has one, that you can have an overhead light, and
Okay.
as long as light gets in your eyes, this light gets in your eyes, you'll be better
Hmm.
off. And you want to
Gotcha.
keep it for, what would we say, about a half an hour a day. And you want to, depending on kind of light, you want to have it, what was it, like a foot and a half away, foot
Okay.
to a foot and a half away. And
Hmm.
if you want to increase, if you're not feeling like you're getting enough, then you can increase the amount of light, the time. You
Okay.
can get it closer to you. You can get a
Hmm.
different kind of light. The light that I have actually changes the different colors. It's really cool.
Oh,
It goes
excellent.
from like blue and tan almost, and like
Hmm.
bright white.
Okay. Okay.
And but it's all still a thousand lux, which is what you're supposed to have.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So as a 15-year, you know,
Educator.
teacher, former teacher, 15 years that you've been
Yeah.
doing this, right? Um, and I know you is with some special ed, right? Special ed children
Yes.
as well.
Yes.
So how would a teacher kind of like, understand or help kids that are suffering from SAD?
Good question. I've researched that too. One of the coolest things I found while doing that is there's actually a toolkit that somebody created for seasonal affective disorder.
Gotcha.
Uh, the thing you want to do is basically have natural light near that individual who's suffering from it. You also want to keep a good eye on that person, just kind of make sure they're doing
Okay.
okay. If they push away, you'll know, and just kind of keep an eye, trying to figure out how things are going. Uh, as far as kids are concerned, when
Hmm.
kids are going through, the younger kids are going through seasonal affective disorder, they they have a hard time getting to sleep. Like if you're young kids, it's hard putting them down to sleep.
Right.
And then
Okay.
as far as, the teenagers would sleep in, they would overeat, possibly undereat. More so overeat was as far as the winter sad is concerned, but it's both ways.
Okay.
As far as like a teacher, just like keep an eye on them. Whatever kind of therapy you possibly can do, if there's, making sure they get out for recess as much as possible.
Okay.
If there's special things that they like, if there's kind of scents and colors that bring them up, you want to have cheery colors nearby.
Right.
I
Okay.
mean, however that person deals with that, I don't know if necessarily, I mean, I can't really speak to that because that's with me. And I said it in
Mhm.
the book that I pretty much stayed away from people. I didn't want people to know that I have this problem because I didn't
Right.
want people to see me differently.
Right.
I didn't want people to either try to fix me or try to understand me
Right.
and
And talk you
not
out of it. Right. Try to talk
right.
you out of
Like,
it. Yeah.
like I say that in the book, like
Hmm.
people, friends and family are like, I want to help you, but I don't get why you're doing that, why you're
Right.
this way.
Yeah.
And the other one's like, this is nothing. You can figure this out.
Right.
This is
Get
nothing.
over it. Get it over with.
Right.
Come
Get
on now.
over it. And
Yeah.
it's not
Yes.
something you can get over. And that's the
Yeah.
reason I wrote the book. Oh,
Yeah.
the reason I wrote the book actually during COVID, I was I was working in a factory and I was working 7 days a week, 14 hours a week, 14 hours a day. So therefore, I went to work before the sun rose, and I
Right.
left work after the sun had already set. So I never saw the sun for those first 2 years.
Wow.
I was in a really dark place, and two things brought me out of it. One, my best friend needed a kidney, so I went on a kidney journey and went to um, numerous kinds of appointments at a hospital. My thinking was, where I plan to go, I'm not going to need this kidney anymore, so I can give it
Hmm.
away.
Right.
And the other thing is, this book kind of was a calling to me. And it just said, I had a book that I was working on, and this book was like, no, I need to make this book. This book is one I need to do. And so while I was working, I would think of things and jot them down. And I have like tons of post-its that would come home, like, okay,
Hmm.
ooh, make sure you add this, make sure you add
Yeah.
this, make sure you add this. And I'm not known for my writing, so the way that I wrote it was actually, I wrote it with clip art. I wrote my pictures, kind of described what I wanted to do, and then I
Right.
put words to the clip art. And that's
Gotcha.
how I personally made it.
Gotcha.
I've never done this before. What am I writing a book for?
Hmm.
But I needed to get this out, and that's kind of my story.
Right. Cool. So in the book, you talk about chemical imbalance. Can SAD run in the family?
Yes, it can.
Okay.
It's more likely that it's going to be from first generational. So it'd be more
Okay.
likely that it's
Okay.
your parents or siblings. It's not
Hmm.
necessarily going to be your aunts or uncles and your grandparents.
Okay. Gotcha. Gotcha. So we have a question from someone in the audience, and I didn't know we were live, so we're live.
Hey, congratulations. My first question. So whoever you are, thank you. Yay.
So the question is, how did you decide on the title and the cover of your design? That's the question. Let me
Great
keep showing
question.
it.
Yeah. So why is Sam so sad? So Sam, because I found out that there was more information about a girl, and
Hmm.
so I'm like, okay, so Sam could be a boy or a girl's name. And so I'm
Okay,
like, okay, well, that's kind of how I'm going to go.
that's
So either
good.
Sam the
That's
guy or
good.
Sam Samantha. But because I went through experience as a guy, I know what I would say as a guy, not necessarily as a
Okay.
girl. So I'm like, I'll do it for a guy. Why is Sam so sad? Sam and sad have the same three
Hmm.
letters. So it started with sad. How can I find something that's a 3-letter word? And I didn't want to
Gotcha.
have Dan. And so that's kind of how I went with that. I hope that answered
Wow.
your question.
Yes, it does.
And
I
thank
didn't even
you.
think about Sam being a versatile name. That's really great. That's a really, Really great. That's exciting. Well, a lot
You
of
just
our
made my trick or treat, by the way. Anybody trick or treating? Knock knock. I got
yeah,
my first interview question on air. Yay!
that's really great. I'm really excited. I didn't know we're live. My team gives me these areas, these links, and now we're live. I'm like, wait a minute, we're live, and people are watching, and people are asking questions.
That's
So
so cool.
so a lot of our audience are entrepreneurs and authors. So they
Yeah.
ask questions like this, and what was the one question here is, what do you mean by dark when you talk about you were in a dark place? What do you mean by dark?
That's really easy. I don't know who is necessarily going to hear this, but when I said that I'm not going to do my kidney again,
Right.
I was thinking suicide.
Okay.
I had no purpose
Okay.
in life.
Okay.
I saw the darkness for
Okay.
2 years in a row. I was not telling my family what I was going through. I just didn't, I was just kind of like a zombie, just there. There was no energy, no nothing. And when I wrote this book,
Mm-hmm.
um, I wrote it with my mom. She helped me do parts of it. She was
Okay.
an author. She's an author too, and so
Okay.
she helped me with it. And every time that there was something new to the book, whether it was the colors are added to
Right.
the pictures, or this paragraph is ready, this title's ready, your book
Okay.
is ready, all that, I would call my mom up. We'd go and celebrate. We see what we have and go out to eat.
That's good.
So I think she might be ready for another book. She might be she might be hungry, so we can do another book. I know she's been pushing
Okay.
the other book that I'm writing too.
Okay. Cool. So guess what? You have another question. What do
Yay!
you
Trick
think
or
that
treat!
children, when they read this book, what would they get out of it? What do you think they will get out of this book?
I
Which is a
know
great
what I want them to get out of it. I
question.
want them to get out of, well, I want kids and parents or whoever
Okay.
to understand that there's a reason why somebody is pushing you away.
Okay.
I know as a, I know my friends who know me know that
Right.
Dan's gonna push you away around this time. Now,
Mhm.
if I'd met a new friend and they don't know that,
Right.
that's a casualty. I just lost that friend because they're like, why is this
Right.
person
Right.
pushing me away? But my
Right.
good friends know. They're like, okay, just be cool.
Give them some room. Right.
Dan will get back to you in summer. He'll be there.
He'll get back to you in summer. I like that one. That's good. Yeah.
You know,
Yes. Yes.
and it's not that I don't do stuff. I mean, I
Right.
do stuff.
Right.
It's just it's really really hard. And like I talk about in the book, that he sleeps in when he can. If he
Right.
needs to go to school, he goes to school. He completes his obligations. If I
Right.
didn't have the obligations, that would be worse. I don't
Right.
know. I don't want to think of a day that I didn't have any obligations. And that's kind of what the work was, like if it wasn't for work when I was in a dark place,
Mm-hmm.
there was nothing for me. There's nothing for me other than that. So I didn't have a reason to get up. We'll put it that way.
Awesome. Gotcha. Gotcha. Well,
I
you're
don't know
giving
why
us a
that
lot
keeps
of
doing that.
information. And I think that last question is really great because I know that, sharing what you hope to have people, the readers, take out of this is very good.
There's
So we
one
want to
more to
thank you
that
guys
too.
for giving these questions. Thank you. Thank you so much.
That's
So
actually,
go ahead. I'm
can I,
sorry.
sorry.
Yeah.
There's two things that I want somebody to take away. One
Okay.
is that they're going to push you away, and people don't understand why people are getting pushed away.
Okay.
And
Good.
now you understand why somebody's pushing you away. The other thing is I want people to understand gratitude. That
Oh, that's
gratitude
good.
is incredible.
Yeah.
Tony Robbins said that you can't be fearful and grateful at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Your grateful wins out. So
Yeah, it's true.
Dan at the
It's true.
very end has a list of gratitude, and every
That's
day I have a list of gratitude.
right.
Uh, obviously over the summer it's way easier to write things down, but I force myself to write things down.
It is.
So
It's way easier. You're right. Yeah.
whoever the two people are who wrote or who uh, I have a question, live question. Thank you. That's a new experience for me. That goes in my gratitude list. So
Yes,
yeah,
awesome.
I have a list of gratitude. If you go on my website, Sam has a list of gratitude. My gratitude, has been since we started this, interviews, all kinds of things from like
Yeah,
friends of mine to
right.
being able to, and as far as gratitude is concerned, what is concerned about is you want to think of how can you affect somebody. So gratitude is based on whether something came to you or you were able to give something to
Uh-huh.
somebody. And many times at work, I'll buy some food. I'll buy somebody, a coworker's, you know, I'll buy their lunch, and then when they get back to me, it's like, you
Hmm.
didn't have to do that. He was like, well,
Right.
you do it for me. I'm like, yeah, I know,
Right.
but you don't have to do
Right.
that. Like,
Yes.
and so that's kind of the same thing. There actually is, believe it or not, there's not only is there a runner's high, but there's a helper's high. Actually, I heard it on the radio from Tim Tebow of all people. Um, yeah, I know, but yeah, you get this high from being able to help people and being
Hmm.
able to, and gratitude is one of the very highest things you can possibly do.
Yes.
So if you think more gratitude, you'll be more happier and things like that. So I try
Yes.
to make sure that I'm thinking gratitude all the time, and the other thing is when you go to bed, to not go to bed thinking all the negatives, try to put good things in your head before you go to
Yes.
bed,
Yes.
because
Absolutely.
that's going to just marinate in your head for the time that you're sleeping, and you wake up and you're like, oh man, life stinks again.
Yes.
But if
Yes.
you think like, hey, you know what, can't wait to get up, I wrote this stuff down, I went
Yes.
on Edna White's podcast, awesome, I had two people that asked me questions, no way, I got a chance to show my Sam hat, everything was good. So
Yes.
that's how I'm going to go
Absolutely.
to bed tonight, thinking about good stuff.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, now you can ask your question. Sorry,
Okay,
jumping on
so
there.
we're nearing the end of our show. I want to let the audience know what you're doing, what's coming up next for you. Share with us all of the good stuff so we can come and follow you and be around you and Sam.
Sure. This is my last interview. I have another one, a big one coming up, which
Okay.
uh, I never thought I'd be on this path by any means.
Yes.
The people I've talked to, I would never be able to like be in even an elevator with them. Like that, this is just, it's beyond my thoughts.
Gotcha.
Especially, knowing that I got the endorsement from Normandy Rosenthal.
Right.
Um, my newest book that I'm writing, which I wrote before this one, but I was kind of like in the final stages with it, is
Okay.
called Meet the Rampers. And the Rampers are, what a ramper is a ground crew. I worked at uh, I worked as a ground crew in Arizona for 3 years.
Okay.
So they're the people who load the plane and do this thing.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah.
So I
With the
actually personally
flags.
done,
With the
yeah, I've
flags.
actually
Yeah. Yeah.
personally done that, pushed out the plane and everything like that. So
Okay.
I don't think everybody knows enough about that. And I'm
No.
trying, I would love to let that book, Meet the Airport Rampers, take off. So
Wow.
that's my newest endeavor. The other one is that I do have a big interview coming up um, with Logan Crawford,
Okay.
who is an interviewer, but I guess he was a comedian too, which is really cool. So
Okay.
I'll be able to joke around with him. So we'll see.
Absolutely.
And if any of your listeners are in Canada, if you go to the Maple Staple, you can see my book there.
Oh, nice. Nice. I
Yeah.
was just in Canada in May. So yeah, I gotcha. All
Well, you're
right.
a little late. I'm sorry. I
Yeah,
didn't tell you
yeah, yeah.
before.
Well, it was wonderful having you on the show and on the live show at that.
That's
Thank
right.
you, listeners,
Thank you,
because you
listeners.
guys have tuned into us and you asked us questions. And thank you for writing Why is Sam So Sad? Thank you so much, and sharing your story with us and Sam's story. This is the end of our show. I want to thank you. I'm your host, Edna White, and my esteemed guest, Dan Granger, saying goodbye for now.
Can I put how I would sign a book?
Say it again.
Can I Phil, can I sign out how I would sign a book?
Sure.
Okay, before I do that, don't forget to check out Amazon.com. My book is on Amazon.com.
Okay.
It's also Barnes & Noble or wherever fine books are sold. So if I were to sign a book for you, I would say, Sam and I wish you much happiness as you create your gratitude list. All the best. Take care. Dan Granger.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here. Bye for now.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for listening. I have live people.